one thing you pointed out is the number of international students who are student athletes here in the States. And of course, the number of American players who are playing, overseas, and how that's like a natural kind of bridge for both. Now, given I guess the best way I can put it, to be honest, Representative, is given the hostility
Mm.
that the president-elect has shown toward immigrants, has shown towards, we just saw as of the recording of this podcast, he had some comments where he pretty much made it clear that he wanted to end birthright citizenship. So given that the president has used our relationships with foreign countries in a very hostile way, how does this marry with what you're attempting to use sports to do? I hope this question makes sense. It's
Yeah,
like,
it does.
yeah.
I am going to learn how to fix my face when talking about the president-elect,
Right.
and really work on, the policies rather than his, this personality and temperament. And I have so many things coming through my brain, right? A, he's married to a woman who's an immigrant. B, his bestie, maybe the shadow president, Elon Musk, was an illegal immigrant, right, from South Africa, who hadn't gotten his papers for a really long time. Look at the NBA, look at the NFL. They are recruiting constantly from other countries. I think the NBA, the 2024 picks, I think the first round, 5 of them were from a foreign country. The NBA is also actually I think in conversations with FIBA about increasing the number of games that they're going to play overseas. The NFL, they do international games. So in my mind, it's like a bunch of bullshit, because there are games that we are watching. I mean, look at the World Cup. Soccer is one of the biggest sports internationally. And I don't know about you, but it is crazy when you are driving down King Boulevard to get downtown, and there is a game happening at the Bird's Nest in South LA. When we played, they had a game at SoFi, and I think it was Brazil and Colombia were playing, and they didn't even have enough seats, and they had to move it from one stadium to SoFi. So the immigrant community is incredibly important to the world of sports. And we can see that the leagues are making adjustments because they're trying to connect to these world markets. I also think people forget that when you're talking about immigration, you're actually talking about growth, because you're talking about there's so much demand that we're actually wanting to bring more people into it, to make sure that the supply is meeting the demand. So I'm hoping that he finds a way to do some better math to see that diversity and immigration are actually good for the economy and for sports.
Yeah, because I know, and especially if you fast forward a little bit and we're thinking about the 2028 Olympics here in Los Angeles, as we've seen in many Olympics, that has also been a platform in which some athletes have chosen to use that to speak out about social injustice, about various issues that impact their communities, our world. And I'm wondering, especially under an administration that seems to not take criticism very well, and has almost made it seem as that and has obviously clearly had an authoritarian tone to how they want to deal with things, as to how that might play out on the world stage here in Los Angeles.
Right.
I don't know how much you have thought about that, or just generally how this is going to change the tone of our country as we are being showcased before the world.
So I think back to when the Dodgers won the World Championships. Hey now, and we had our celebration. And the president said this was great for the Dodgers and for LA, but he also said it was great for Mexico, the Dominican Republic, for South Korea, and for Japan, because we have players on the Dodgers roster from all of those countries. I think about going to Japan with the State Department to talk about peace and security, and women playing a role in peace and security discussions and in those leadership roles. And we were able to get additional meetings and support from the Japanese government. Why? Because I brought Dodger gear with me.
Mhm.
And the defense minister was so excited to get something from Shohei Ohtani and from the Dodgers that they said, okay, let's continue to talk about how we can work together to promote peace and security with women. And then I think about the fact that this new next president likes to win, 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 win. And you don't want to have a losing Olympics, which is a national event, even if it is going to be in Los Angeles and in parts of Oklahoma, because the administration isn't supporting what we need to put our best foot forward and host the largest peace gathering event that the world has ever seen, or that it's able to see every 2 and 4 years.
A lot of people have mixed opinions about whether or not sports and politics should mix.
Hmm.
Obviously, clearly, I think they mix all the time. And hence why I wanted you to come on and be a guest to sort of explain the diplomatic relationship, going a little bit deeper into that. Um, how do you see sports as a useful tool
Yeah.
politically?
Well, I know there are people that say just shut up and dribble or shut up and play. And I say no, play and talk and share your story. I think about Roberto Clemente, one of the best, biggest, beastliest, baseball players of all time. And he was engaged in sports diplomacy because he was trying to get supplies to his people, right? And he said, these planes that are delivering supplies to help our folks post earthquake, they were being stolen by a corrupt government. And the only way that he knew that his people would get the help they need was if he flew in the plane and went over there with them. That was because he was such an internationally known player that he knew doors would open to allow him to do what he wanted to do, which was to help save people. I talked about Matumbo. We've talked, there's all kinds of stories, right? Jackie Robinson, and pushing forward, not through talking about politics, but actually through playing the game to allow folks to maybe put some of their biases aside and connect with the humanity of this particular person who also is an athlete. And that's really what sports diplomacy is all about. Politics is in everything we do. It is in where you sit at the table during Thanksgiving. Are you going to sit next to the mother-in-law or the sister? I mean, that's politics, right? What kind of gift you buy for someone during the holidays? So we should disabuse ourselves of thinking that we need to separate politics from sports, and we need to actually lean into how powerful sports can be. I have worked with the State Department on this, and look, Norm Nixon and Debbie Allen would go to other countries with the State Department and talk about sports and talk about the arts. And Norm was telling me he used the power of the ball to actually connect with folks in other countries, and then use that to talk about issues that were really important to both countries, like making sure that you have food, making sure that there are places for young people to go, making sure that maybe young folks were able to play a game instead of maybe being, pushed into being child soldiers. So that's how sports diplomacy actually looks in the real world.